Hey everyone, Parallel here. Welcome to Star Trek Online. Season 13, Escalation, is now live. So let's go in here and take a look at the new content that is available with this season update. Now, just to start off, I should mention that this season is actually very controversial because of the space combat balance changes that are going in as part of this patch. That is a broad, sweeping change that affects almost all aspects of space combat. A lot of systems have changed, gear, equipment, skills, specializations, everything across the board. And that is actually one of the big parts of this patch. So here's what I'm thinking I will do as far as this video goes. What I'd like to do is, before I start going through the patch notes, I would like to actually jump into a patrol and show you one of the cool new things added in this patch, and that is the new heavy weapons that are available to escort vessels. This is one of the coolest things I think in the patch, so I wanted to start out on a high note here and take a look at this and actually get into some action. After that, I will then go through, I think, and just hit the highlights of this patch, take a look at what the actual new content is. And I would also like to mention, go through some of the patch notes in detail, although just a disclaimer right now, there's no way I'll be able to go through all of the balance changes in this particular video. There are just too many to cover in one video, and I am planning to make more videos regarding, these balance changes in the future. In fact, I think one of my next videos coming up here within probably a few days will be going through and updating my build, because I have a meta build, the current meta. Prior to this patch, I have a build based on that, with plasma consoles, strategist, secondary, all of that good stuff, the standard meta build. And what I'd like to do is maybe make a video where I adjust my build from the old meta to the new meta based on, what research I've done and what, a lot of the Reddit has been saying about testing on Tribble and everything. So many aspects have been changed. They even handed out a free skill respec with this patch because the changes are so vast. And so that's what I'm thinking I will do to cover the balance changes. Probably just a whole separate video for that, and just go through and sort of transition my build from the old meta to the new. So look forward to that video in the coming days here. But this video will just focus more on the content itself and some of the cool new features like the new Escort Heavy Weapons that I mentioned. Alright, so let's go ahead here. Like I said, I want to jump into the combat first, just to have a little bit of fun before I get into the, just going through the content, and everything new in this patch. So let's go ahead, and what I'm going to do is head over to Argala and do a patrol. Now, what I'd like to highlight is the new heavy weapons that have been added to escorts. In fact, it's not just escorts. It's basically any starship that has a commander tactical. So if you go over here to your bridge officers and you have a commander tactical, and you have less than one hangar bay, or less than one or fewer hangar bays, let's put it that way, then you will be getting this extra heavy weapon slot. So you can see it right here. It's kind of interesting. You can see it's a new slot. It actually shows up right below your aft weapons. So you can actually see I'm actually in a destroyer class vessel. I'm in the Fleet Mogai, and this ship, it is technically more of a destroyer. I believe it does get the destroyer mastery package. So destroyers get this new heavy weapon as well. And if you're curious how to get your hands on one of these, there is one of these is available from the new reputation. I will get into the new reputation here shortly, because that is one of the major new features in the patch here in the new season. But if you want to just start one quick here, what you can do is go to the dilithium store and go down to reclaim, and you should be able to see this weapon here. Just reclaim it for 0 dilithium and you can have it that way. I believe there's also one of these that came with the new Escort bundle that came out in the C-Store, so if you bought one of those, I believe those did come with the new Cation Escorts. I believe did come with a unique one of these as well. But I think this one here in the Dilithium store is just a general one that all your escorts should have access to. I did upgrade it to Mark 14, but I did not upgrade the quality. I'm going to wait for... First, I'm going to wait to see how this thing does in combat. I have not done much testing on it yet. And before I go trying to upgrading it to gold quality. And we'll have to see, one of the reputation might be better, so I might hold off for that. Or it's still a very, very new system here. But it is a very cool idea. I like this, giving this to escorts. A lot of escorts that had a 4-3 layout, they were kind of lacking that 8th weapon slot that a lot of warships have and other things, that was kind of leaving them behind. And I believe Cryptic kind of thought they wanted to give escorts a little something extra to bring them up a notch. And that's what this heavy weapon does. Now, it's kind of funny. You would think... I was thinking this was going to be like a built-in, like a lance type weapon or a spinal cannon, something along those lines. But no, it's actually different. It is actually a 360 degree targeting arc. So it's like a turret in a way, but it does act a little bit differently. These are all fairly unique weapons. This one here is the hyper-excited ion stream projector. It actually does electrical damage. I don't believe it counts as exotic, though. I'm pretty sure it does count as weapon damage. And this one can hit, apparently, it can hit up to 5 targets in a line. I'm not quite sure what the radius is on that, if it's like a cone or like a cylinder. Not quite sure how that works. But it says it also does bonus damage for each target hit. It does take 10 weapons power while you're firing, similar to most other weapons, and it has a 4-second recharge. I guess if that is the firing cycle. Right, so that is what I'm going to be testing out here in this run. Let's go ahead and head in. Now, I have been doing some testing here. Like I said, with all these balance changes, it is really going to shake up the meta and affect builds quite heavily. So I have been changing up my build here and trying to fit it into the new, the new meta of the space combat. So I'll be covering all that in a future video for sure, because there is just a lot to cover. In this video, I just want to focus on just the nifty new goodies that we're getting with this patch. All right, so let's see here. So let's just start out. I'm going to decloak. Maybe I can just activate this one weapon here. Well, that did actually activate everything, so I have it on auto fire. But you see that big, cool electrical ability? Pretty nice. Neat effect, and it is 360. You saw there was firing aft. So very cool graphic. I like the graphical effect. And if you are curious, I am running this... I'm not using any abilities right now. This is just raw damage. It looks like a crit there for about 7k. It's decently hard. And that's totally unbuffed. I'm not using any attack patterns or anything else. And I do like the 360 degrees on it. That means... I mean, that really adds a lot, because that's, escorts always like to have a, forward type build. Forward firepower is key to escorts. And, I'm running cannons here, dual heavy cannons. But it is nice to have that extra, 360 degree damaging ability there, because it will help you with your forward firepower, and then also, kind of assist your turrets. If you are maneuvering around, circling around for another strafing run, you will be getting shots with your heavy weapon. I'm curious to see if that'll be that way in the future. If there will be like new weapons that will be just a narrow firing arc in the front, or if they will always be, these 360 degrees. All right, so let's go ahead and buff up a little bit. Try the same thing again here. I'm not sure if I mentioned, this is on advanced difficulty. Yes, and you can see, I can definitely tell my damage. Oh, he placated me. Let's go ahead and cleanse that. Let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and try to buff up here, use all of my damaging abilities on these two battleships here. But I'm definitely noticing my DPS has gone down. The balance changes are quite severe and affect a lot of areas. I know people that were testing this out on Triple were finding that, I mean, you're looking at, you know, across the board, just overall damage it was, you know, for a meta build, damage was down by, you know, as much as like 40%. I mean, just across the board. If you take all of the different changes cumulatively, you're looking at just massive DPS reductions across the board. Now, I am pleased to notice that one thing, one of the changes that was mentioned earlier did not go through, and that was a change where torpedo abilities, let's go ahead and get rid of these items here, but torpedo abilities had their duration of the buff reduced to 10 seconds. It looks like that didn't go through because here for where's my, there it is, Torp Spread. If I use Torp Spread, you can see it actually lasts for 30 seconds. That's fantastic. So I'm glad that change didn't go through. And it seems like, you know, when they first initially announced these balance changes, some of the changes they did roll back on Tribble, and they were really good. Another change that I really liked that they rolled back was override subsystem safeties. Initially the offline system offline that occurs at the end of the buff. They had made that uncleansable, so they were always guaranteed to have a downtime. But now they did get rid of that. So now you are able to once again cleanse the system offline that happens at the end of OSS. Again, a very nice change that helped with one of the more annoying things that was present in the balance changes. Alright, so let's give this one more try. Let's do full buff up here and then decloak. Use this heavy weapon to take out the flagship here. Let's use Focus Frenzy. Ooh, he went down pretty quick. I wonder if that 50k crit was from that. I'm not sure. He's dead, but he's still tractoring me. That's interesting. Alright, so there it is, guys. That was an advanced Argala run showing off the new heavy weapon, and this is the build that I will be working on, and there will be a video upcoming on that very shortly, and that's when I'll go through more of the space changes in detail. But I just want to mention a few of those things that I liked up front. You know, the new heavy weapon is really cool. The changes that they made to, the torpedo buff and the override subsystem safeties, and not nerfing those quite as bad as they could have been. I would very much welcome that change. So there we go. A few good things there to start off the video. So let's go ahead now. I think let's head back out here, and I will go through the highlights of the new Season 13 patch. Let's go ahead and head back to the bridge and get comfortable, because there is quite a bit to go through here. All right, so first thing, let's take a look at what is new. So let's go ahead and pull up the what is new in Season 13 and hit the highlights. All right, so first thing, Mirrors and Smoke. This is a new featured episode, and this one is going to finally continue the Lucari story arc, so that's pretty cool. It says a Lucari probe has identified a curious new life signs within a distant nebula, life signs similar to their own. Could this be the lost tribe of the Lucari? That's right. In the previous episode, they mentioned that they had broken off into two factions, like early in their, in their development as a society. That will be cool to investigate. Join forces with Captain Kumarke. Okay, so we'll go back with Captain Kumarke. And discover what lies within the Gonkra Nebula, friends or foe. I'm wondering if it's going to be the Zenkethi. I'm sure they will get involved at some point. And, of course, with a new featured episode comes new featured rewards. Now this, in fact, this is the content that I'm most excited about in this new season. I know there's the whole thing with the new reputation, but this featured episode, I think featured episodes in general are just the best content in Star Trek Online. It's just obvious to me that that's where the development team puts a lot of their focus. It gets all of the best, all the new art assets, maps, the voice acting, the story, everything. That seems to be where Star Trek Online, the development team, focuses a lot of their effort into these featured episodes, and it shows. So this is definitely the best content, and that's what I'm most looking forward to. In fact, I think right now, when I have the most fun in Star Trek Online, it's definitely doing these featured episodes. So there it is. Now,
while searching for signs of weaponized protomatter.
Well, there are, of course, new rewards, and I'm going to do a whole episode on this featured, a whole video on this featured episode, and that is going to be coming like first thing. Like, this is the thing I'm most excited about season 13, so I will definitely be jumping into this as soon as possible. The only reason I'm not doing that right now in this video is because with all of these balance changes, I had to spend most of tonight honestly just researching, going through the patch notes. There's just so much to digest there, and a lot of research that needs to be done to see what a competitive build is now with all of these changes. So that took so much time tonight that I just do not have time to go through and do the featured episode, which is unfortunate, because that I'm really looking forward to. So that will be my very next video, will be on the featured episode and doing a playthrough of that. So yeah, very excited about that. We'll check out all the new rewards and all of that good stuff. All right, so that was the featured episode. Let's go ahead and back in here and take a look at this. Now, the next thing is this new Wargame system, along with the competitive Wargame reputation. So, this new reputation is quite, I would say it's unique, but it definitely, I think, is a little bit niche, because this is going to appeal to a very specific subset of the player base. Because the whole focus of these war games is that they are kind of a mix of PvP and PvE. Now, PvP has been kind of on the decline in Star Trek Online. It's not active at all, and I think this is Cryptic's attempt to try to get PvP back into the forefront, but doing it in kind of a more gentle way where it's actually PvP and PvE kind of mixed together. Now, let's go ahead and read through here. So, with this Wargames system, there are going to be 3 new queues. I believe only 2 of them are live right now. I think one of them, they mentioned in the patch notes, is not, or is still buggy, and they're keeping it offline right now. I believe the 2 that are live are these 2, Core Assault and Binary Circuit. One is a space queue and one is a ground queue. So basically it's saying teams of captains will compete in simulations designed to test a number of combat and problem-solving skills. Teamwork is the key to victory in these war games. That, I think, is where one of the issues is going to come up with this new reputation and these queues. It looks like these queues, these PvE, PvP queues, are very focused on puzzles and sort of teamwork puzzle solving. Now, that is going to be a major problem in pickup groups. I can already see it happening now, where pickup groups will not know what to do, and it's going to be a cluster. It's going to be, it's going to be craziness. It's going to be chaos, and who knows what's going to happen in these queues. I do want to check them out. I am very curious. I want to give them a fair shake, just because this is unique. It is something that Cryptic is trying to do. I want to give it a fair shake. That said, I'm not predisposed to this type of gameplay. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of PvP in general in MMOs. I do enjoy PvP like CS:GO or just like first-person shooters, that type of stuff. I do enjoy PvP there, but in MMOs, I've never really enjoyed PvP. It's so imbalanced. MMOs are so based on gear, and I kind of prefer PvP that's more based on like skill. I actually do enjoy MOBAs, those type of things. The problem with most MOBAs is that the community is so toxic that it's unplayable. So that's kind of where my disposition is. So coming from that standpoint, I'm not really looking forward to this content. But like I said, I'll give it a fair shake. I'll do a video on these new queues, check them out, and just see how they are. Now, the competitive Wargames reputation. This I want to take a look at in a little more detail here. So, as you take part in these Wargame queues, you will earn competitive marks and assessed stratagems. I believe that is the elite mark. And once earned, you can use them to acquire new gear and, of course, grind the reputation. That's kind of the thing here. I understand making this into its own reputation, but I'm not going to lie here, guys. I just finished grinding out the Lucario reputation on a lot of alts, and I was definitely not looking forward to grinding a new reputation with this season. I was kind of hoping for a break from that. So, not too excited about a new reputation grind. Just not looking forward to that. But we can see here, it is a fully fledged reputation. I mean, it's going to have a space set, a ground set. It is actually going to have a new heavy weapon as well, new traits, and a new active ability over here. Let's just go through some of these traits and see what is available at some of the different tiers. So at the first tier, you're going to be getting ground. Yeah, so what is this? Armor penetration buff. Attacking an enemy while they are immune to damage grants a short duration armor penetration. Attacking an enemy while they are immune to damage. Why would you attack an enemy while they are immune to damage? That is very odd. Additional attacks refresh the duration. Huh. Okay. Munitions dampeners. Physical and kinetic damage resistance. Gain kinetic and physical damage resistance rating. Okay, this is like just a flat damage resistance buff. Okay. Looks like this is the kind of the space variant of that. So attacking an enemy while immune to damage grants a short duration armor penetration buff. Maybe this is kind of more PvP oriented. I guess this is, the competitive Wargames reputation. It is focused more around that type of, that type of combat in PvP. And in PvP, you do run into immunities more often. So I guess the idea here is you attacking an enemy, they go immune, you get this armor penetration buff, and when their immunity wears off, you do a bit more damage with the armor penetration. Is that the idea here? It only lasts for 5 seconds, though. Kind of weird. Very situational at best. I mean, outside of PvP, I really wouldn't see much of a use for that. Maybe in a ground queue if you're fighting against... I'm forgetting the faction. What is the name of those guys that have those annoying immunity shields? It is the... Not cool. Haha, couldn't think of the name there. Yeah, if you're fighting not cool on the ground, perhaps, because they do get a lot of immunities when their shields come up, maybe that would be useful. I don't know. A little bit skeptical on these, but okay. And the next one here for space is kind of similar, just a physical and kinetic damage resistance rating. So just a defensive trait there. Let's see what we got here at the next tier 3. Player takedown heal speed buff. Defeating an enemy player will drop a buff for your team. And drop a buff like on the ground and you pick it up? Is that what that's trying to say? Any team member passing through the buff. Yeah, maybe that's like the I'm trying to think. That one ground zone that has the buffs that drop on the ground battle zone. I think it's the Voth. Yeah, in the Voth area, I think those drop a lot of those little buffs on the ground. Maybe it's kind of that same thing. But it gives you a run speed, healing, shield healing, and you're healed for 20% of your max hit points. It's kind of interesting. But it says enemy player. Again, is that only PvP we're talking about here? Critical feint. Being critically hit will reduce the attacker's critical hit chance for a short duration. Minus 5% crit chance for 5 seconds. Maybe. Yeah, these just all seem very PvP focused. Which I guess makes sense. This is, that's what this faction is about, or this reputation is about. So that the space variant here, we've got defeating enemy player will drop a buff for your team. I'm kind of curious to see how that would look in space. Does that have a little floating, glowy, icon that you can fly through to pick it up? Gives you, 300% turn rate. That's quite a bit. Flight speed, that's quite a bit. Shield healing, and your hull is healed for 20%. That's kind of cool. But you do have to get a kill, so maybe better traits out there. Seems like situationally good in PvP only, of course. Okay, and another, again, being critically hit will reduce the attacker's critical hit chance. Again, that could be good. I mean, if you're trying to stop the burst ability of someone in PvP, maybe. But yeah, so I'm thinking, all these traits, very PvP focused and pretty situational. I don't know if they'd be a mainstay trait, because you have to give up something pretty good to get one of these. Let's see what the active is here, though. The active is Forced Challenge, Tractor, and Shield Damage. Forced Challenge will tractor your target to you and deal shield damage to their forward shield facing. This is a challenge to your opponent that cannot be denied. So it's kind of like a... like the inverse tractor beam repulsors when you're using Groggamal, and it sucks them right into you. Faces the target towards you. So that's almost like a forced game of chicken right there. It's like you both face right towards each other. It does do damage to them, but they're gonna be facing right towards you too. So if they're still allowed to fire, I mean, that's gonna be a game of chicken there. Whoever can blow someone away head on first is gonna win. 16.9 to target's forward shield. Yeah, so it does take down their shields. Target. Oh, okay, but you can't use it again on the same target for 45 seconds. Okay. Kind of interesting. I could see some tactical uses for that in a PvP match. All right, so they're the reputation traits. Again, like I said, let's see, we get tier 1 here. You get the shield and a universal console. So there are some consoles here. You're going to get consumables, competitive consumables. At tier 2, you're also going to get very rare deflector array. Okay, so you get your deflector array. 3 different deflector arrays. I believe... Yeah, I think that's something unique about this reputation, is that it has different variants of the space set. I think more focused kind of on what your captain career is. So that could be interesting. Definitely worth looking into. So we get a tier 3 here. Looks like we get... more competitive consumables. Then you get the okay, so the pistol ground weapon. Okay, then you get the engines, so the 3 different engine variants. And here you go. Okay, so here's the heavy escort flak shot artillery. So that is the heavy weapon that you'll get. You get that at tier 3. And you get science and engineering kit. Okay, and your kit modules, tactical science and engineering kit modules. Cool. Ground kit modules. I'll definitely want to check those out, do a video on those. Might take a while, though. Got to grind up to tier 3. So a tier 4 looks like, yeah, more competitive consumables. New equipment. Okay, so it looks like you get the warp core, the 3 different variants of the warp core. Singularity core is there as well. Tetrion heavy support turret. Not sure what that is. Something interesting there. And you also get an omnidirectional Tetrion support beam array. I wonder... Omnidirectional Tetrion beam array. I wonder if that is something that you can also equip with a crafted omnidirectional array, or if they are mutually exclusive. That'll be worth checking out. And then finally, in the final tier, competitive consumables. What do we get? So you get the armor, the ground armor, and then you get the shield. So resilient shield array, okay, for the 3 different variants. Cool. So that is the competitive war games reputation. Definitely be worth checking that out once we can grind it out up to up to tier 5. But like I said, I'm just not looking forward to a grind right now. So this will probably be something that I only do very casually. I'm not gonna lie. It's maybe just one a day for the daily bonus and just grind it out that way. But even then, like I said, there's so many changes. I wanted to first, go through and update my build, before jumping into any of these queues and, before doing the featured episode. So that's what I've been doing today. All right, so now going back here, that's pretty much what they're highlighting here as the main new features. Now I'm kind of curious. They don't even mention the balance changes here in the highlight, the in-game highlights here. But if you actually pull up the patch notes on the, on the Cryptic official webpage, there are a lot. The space balance changes are all there. In fact, if you go back to my previous video, when they first announced these changes and announced all the details, I did do a kind of a reaction video then. And so if you're, kind of curious my initial reactions, you're certainly welcome to check out that video. Like I said, I'll create another video here and go through and update my build and go through and give all, the details on these balance changes. I mean, there's just so much there. I don't want to throw it under the rug because it really is a main part of this patch. But it's just so extensive. It affects so many aspects here. It just really needs to be in its own video. All right, so there are, putting those balance changes aside for now, there are actually some other changes that are really cool in this patch. There is a added free skill respec, so that's cool. And that's because part of those balance changes are they did go through and update all of the skill trees. In particular, the skill trees, they updated the ultimate abilities. And when I say update, I mean nerf. They pretty much nerfed these, except for the engineering ability. They did buff that. In fact, the engineering one seems like it probably has a use, again, in PvP. I don't know in PvE if you would use it, but one of the modifiers now for this, as I mouse over here, is the Ablative Corruption. And now the target does not regenerate hull and receives less hull healing. So it's kind of like, for those of you who play World of Warcraft, it's kind of like a Mortal Strike ability. It'll half all of their hull healing that they get. I could see that being actually quite useful in PvP scenario, where if you're trying to focus down, a heavy tank, cut their hull healing and focus them down while this is up, that could be quite effective. Hull, healing debuffs are very effective in PvP. So I could see some uses there, but still not quite sure if it's good enough compared to the science and tactical ultimates for PvE uses. Now the science ultimate, this did get a pretty significant nerf. They removed one of the modifiers here that is the probability window, which increased the duration. So basically you're looking at like half the duration now. Very much hurting the uptime of this ability. I still think it's actually a very good ability because it still gives you that 50% crit. The effects are still very good with the armor penetration, although I think the stacking on that was maybe nerfed. I can't quite recall what the change was there. So that is there. And then also Focus Frenzy was actually got some nerfs and some buffs because now torpedoes fired at the target that you put a Focus Frenzy on will now give you the Focus Frenzy buff, so that's nice. So you will get it from torpedo and energy weapons. That's kind of the buff. But they did also nerf the amount of firing cycle haste you get and the amount of recharge time reductions you get from the modifiers. So it is good that they were giving away a free respec for sure. But I do believe now that the tactical tree will be quite a bit more popular now with the nerf to probability manipulation. They're definitely much more on par now, so I could see a lot of people going more into the tactical. Going more into the tactical tree. In fact, that's what I did here because I wanted to check it out with my free respec. So, we'll be covering that more in detail in the future video, but just wanted to mention that. So you do get a free respec. The Delta Quadrant mission changes. Now, this is an interesting one. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the episode list here because I do actually think this is probably a good change because the Delta Quadrant missions, they were incredibly long. It was one of the longest story arcs. Here it is. Couldn't see it. But yeah, just look at how many missions are here in this story arc. It's crazy. There are so many missions here. And a lot of them are those really, kind of standard fare time filler patrol missions. Now I know they originally did this when Delta Rising came out because the experience curve from 50 to 60 was so high. They had to they basically had to pad the length of this episode arc, the story arc, to make it so people could get anywhere near level 60. So they had put on all these patrol missions. So I think it's fine that they're taking all the patrol missions out. I just hope that they at least make players aware that those patrol missions exist. Because if they're not listed here, players might, miss them. I guess, they're still listed here. Maybe you could just skip over them. I'm not quite sure how that's going to work. Because, it is still valuable to be able to do those. Some of those are really good patrols. Obviously, Argala is one of the most popular patrols out there for, for grinding and testing out builds and whatnot. I always like to go into Argala because it's a very simple, straightforward combat type patrol. If people don't go through that in the story arc, they might miss it, and they might not be aware that that patrol is out there. So that's the only downside I can see, but definitely this Delta Quadrant arc needed to be trimmed down a bit, so that's a good change. It says they did change the level 50 to 60 NPC scaling. It sounds like all they're kind of doing there is changing how much damage and hit points the enemies have. So they are going to be a little bit easier in the low 50s, but by the time you get to level 60, they're pretty much exactly where they're at now. So I think it's to allow more people more time to adjust. Instead of going right from 50 to 51, still in all Mark 12 gear, whatever you were using previously, there was quite a jump up in enemy difficulty. So now they've tried to smooth it out a bit, so it's not until you get to level 60 where you start to see that ramp up occur. Good change. New UI has been implemented into the PvE queue system. Let's take a look at that. Yes, here is the new UI. Cool. Looks like, so the featured queues here, looks like they now just get a cool graphic now instead of just a list. It's kind of neat. And they kind of had reorganized everything here. Let's see. They don't really say a whole lot about it. It's just one line in the patch notes, but looks like you can sort by what mark you're looking for. That's kind of cool. So if you're looking for Nukara marks, you should be able to do Crystalline Catastrophe. Yep. Okay. I think that's probably a good change here. You can go, I think Fleet marks you can get from almost anything. Gear dilithium. Not quite sure what they mean there. Crystalline Catastrophe is good for farming dilithium. You could join the queue right up here. Looks like it has most of the same information. Still does tell you how many are queued. I thought had mentioned they might get rid of that, or maybe that was only in the consoles. I can't quite remember, but it does tell you how many are queued. Team size. Yep, That's where you can get your Terran marks, and Lucari marks you can get from these two. Competitive marks you can get from these two. Okay, so this is the new reputation down here. Of course, you get Binary Circuit, which is the ground queue, Core Assault, which is the space. Okay, so I'm digging it. It's not bad. I'm just trying to think if was anything missing. I hope nothing was taken away. Yeah, I mean, it seems okay. Alright, so I'm digging it. It's, not a huge change, but it is a nice little... Okay, so when you click on the image, it does bring you into the detail, and you can join there. Or you can just do it like right from here and join. Okay. Seems like overall pretty decent change. I like how they, they figured most people that would do a queue are probably looking for a particular type of mark, and this way, just go right in, you say, I want a Dyson mark. There you go, boom, there's all the queues. So, yeah, decent change. Okay, so what else we got here? Updated the window which appears when opening lockbox. Ah, yes. Now, one thing that also came with this season is a new lockbox. And since they mentioned this, I'm not going to open one. I'm not going to open one here, but what I'm going to do is get info on this because this lockbox actually looks kind of cool. I actually really like the theme of this lockbox. So this is called the Privateer Lockbox. Just came out with Season 13. It's not really kind of there in the patch notes, but I just want to go through this real quick because, like I said, I love the theme of this lockbox. And the theme of this lockbox is TNG. This is all from The Next Generation, which is by far my favorite series. I watched it growing up, and I absolutely love TNG. I've seen every episode dozens of times, and this is fantastic. So there's some really cool things in this lockbox. So the first thing is the Miradon Raider. Now, unfortunately, they don't show a graphic of it here, but if you actually look, on the if you go to the Cryptic website, of course, they have a blog post about all the details in this lockbox. But the Miradon Raider was used in an episode in TNG. I believe it was called The Chase. I think that was the name of it, The Chase? I think so. And that was it was a 2-part episode, and it was a fantastic episode. That was when Picard went sort of undercover. I guess maybe I should say spoilers warning. I don't know if I should say spoilers for, a 2-decade-old series, but the episode is all about how Picard had gone undercover and disguised himself as Galen, a mercenary, and joined this mercenary crew that was flying this Miradon Raider. And it actually sounds really cool because one of the things I remember from that episode is that this ship had a special ability of sort of like it wasn't really a cloaking device, just that its hull was sort of stealthy and non-detectable at long range. So basically it would disappear from long-range sensors. And I believe they've kind of added that as an ability here to the Miradon Raider. So it's a Tier 6 ship. I believe it is actually a Raider, so it gets, Raider flanking, that type of good stuff. So yeah, I really like that they added that. It looks just like it did in that episode, and I love canon ships. So it's really cool that they used that ship, and it's really cool that it came from TNG. And that was a fantastic episode. I absolutely loved it. That was really cool. They were a lot of little intrigue there when they, Riker kind of came on board, and he was pretending to be a officer that is out of favor, sort of an insubordinate officer that didn't like Starfleet. It was just great, the interplay between Riker and Picard in that episode, and the whole sort of archaeology aspect, the race aspect, the whole twist at the end where it was actually a Vulcan artifact for psychic weaponry. It's just a really great episode. Go watch it if you're at all interested and you want to learn about this Miradon Raider. So that was very cool. Guardian drone console sounded pretty cool. Summons 4 drones that protect and follow your ship. This is interesting. Guardian drones are very durable and will fire at will any target within 5 kilometers. That's kind of neat. Fire at will at everyone within 5 kilometers. I'd be curious to see how that does. Does have some new traits. So you got some 3 ground traits, 3 space traits. What else we got here? There was some other cool things that were also references to TNG. You do get some more space traits, or starship traits, sorry. Privateer kit modules. Okay, some new kit modules. Ah, yes. So one is called the Holographic Deceiver. This thing is supposedly supposed to be like in the episode with Ardra, which was, again, another really great episode. And I can't remember the name of the episode, but that episode was awesome because Ardra was basically this woman of an alien race that came down to this planet, and this planet had sort of a I guess an end of the world prophecy, and that this prophecy had predicted that this evil or this malevolent being would show up at a particular date in a particular way. And this con artist learned about this prophecy and basically used this holographic projector to become Ardra, which was this figure that was prophesied by this by these people, showed up at just the right time, played exactly everything out just like it occurred in the prophecy, and then almost tricked this entire civilization into worshiping her as a god. So that was pretty awesome. So Holographic Deceiver is coming from that episode. Stabilized fold space transporter. I'm not sure about that one. Echo Papa 607 drone system. That's cool. Privateer Weapon Disruptor Package. This one also has a nice little reference here because it says this box contains weapons powered by Krieger Wave Converter. Now, Krieger Waves was in a episode of TNG. Again, sorry, I don't remember the name of that one, but wasn't Krieger Waves what they were trying to use to have warp speed without warp drive? Am I thinking of the right thing? Like they would actually launch this Krieger Wave and it would kind of carry a ship into warp, even though it didn't have a warp drive. I may be thinking of the wrong thing, but I think that's what the Krieger Wave was. Another very cool episode. Okay, large pack boosts. Now, one thing that's not mentioned here, which is another thing that was, I guess, related. I guess it's actually in the low-buy store, so that's why it's probably not mentioned here. But one thing that was also here is a new Tier 6 ship, which is the Hushnak battleship. And that is really cool. Again, another awesome episode. That episode, I think the name was Survivor, or The Survivors, something like that. That was another really cool episode where there was sort of a very high-powered alien that was alone on this planet, and the Enterprise went to investigate, and they come to find out this alien was incredibly powerful. I mean, almost like Q type levels of power, but I don't think they were like part of the Q continuum. It was like this own different alien, and this alien had actually wiped out the entire race of Hushnak, which had attacked this planet where the alien was living. This alien was kind of living amongst humans, had a nice comfortable life. This alien was a complete pacifist, even though they had all of this power. Was complete pacifist, a very rigid philosophy of never killing anything. The Hushnak attacked their colony, killed everybody that he loved, and basically he wiped out, with his power, completely wiped out, as in complete genocide of the Hushnak race. Gone. And apparently Starfleet discovered where all these Hushnak ships had been sitting, because their entire race was wiped out, and now they have, you can get a Hushnak warship at Tier 6. So pretty cool. Now, I'm not sure if I'll be investing much into this lockbox items. I want to check out the space traits to see if they're worth it and all of that good stuff. Maybe this drone system would be cool. But I just wanted to mention it and go through it there because I love TNG. It's my favorite series, and this whole lockbox, this Privateer Lockbox, is all themed on TNG. So I thought that was really cool. All right, so yeah, I'm sorry for that little diversion. Let's keep going through some of the other general changes in the patch here. So, mentioned the new lockbox. Resolved an issue that was causing Mark 13 and higher starship shields to drop unexpectedly low capacity value. Okay, sounds like a little just bug fix. Editing a comment in the fleet roster is now done through a pop-up to help alleviate issues with players logging in and out, causing the wrong comment to be edited. Okay, pretty minor issues here. Resolved an issue where the tailor would not recognize a name change done to the player's bridge officer. Okay, so that's actually good. Again, kind of minor things there. Removed a level restriction from all armor items purchased in the Lobby store. Okay. 23rd century captains can now display their ship's registry number. Good. Progress tabs of the status UI now shows players and their current amount of fleet credits and their lifetime. Let's take a look at that. The progress tab of the status UI. What is the progress tab of the status UI? Because it's talking about your lifetime fleet credits earned total. Fleet credits, fleet marks. Fleet credits. I'm not actually sure where this is referring to. Contributions, provisions, leaderboard. Yeah, I don't know what this is referring to. Kind of strange. So, not sure what this is referring to. It would be nice to see your total lifetime earned fleet credits, though. I would actually like to know that. Yeah, the progress tab of the status UI now shows players their current amount of fleet credits and their lifetime fleet credits. I'm not seeing lifetime fleet credits anywhere. Well, I will look for that and see where that is, because it would be interesting to know how many lifetime fleet credits you've earned. It's kind of cool. Okay, the rewards cooldown UI will now show the bonus competitive mark time. Okay, so yeah, so now they've... Actually, I'm kind of curious, where is that shown now? 'Cause it used to be here in the PvE queues that you would see your cooldowns, but I don't see that button anymore. The reward cooldowns UI now shows the bonus competitive marks. So I'm assuming they just added competitive marks cooldown to that list, but I don't know where that is showing now, because it used to be right here on the PvE queues where you would see what your current cooldowns are. Not sure where that went to. And the new logon screen. Oh yes, a new logon screen was added. It's actually pretty cool looking. I did rather enjoy the new loading screen. It has some pretty cool ship flybys going on, a neat new planet showing. Alright, so that covers most of the general changes and the content, guys. So that, I mean, it kind of depends on how you look at it. It kind of feels like a pretty small season content-wise, with only the 2 new queues and 1 featured episode. But then again, the main focus here is all of the space balance changes. That's just a huge portion. It's a huge portion of the patch notes, and it's a huge portion. I think that's where, a lot of the development time and effort went into for this season, why it's a little bit light on actual new content, but just so many changes to systems and balance changes. I think took up almost all of it. Yeah, almost all of it. But yeah, even with all those new balance changes, again, like I said, I already covered this in a previous video, but you know, these balance changes are targeted as a big nerf, and they are going to, I think, alienate a lot of players, because a lot of gear, particularly like embassy consoles, were, you know, lost a lot of value, and people have invested a lot of their time and effort into upgrading those items. So I think that will definitely alienate some people. In fact, it's not something I'm feeling great about, because yes, I also invested quite a bit into embassy consoles, among other things that are no longer quite as viable anymore. So there is that. There were some good changes, though. I mean, it's not all bad. There were the changes to the captain careers, in particular science and engineering, got some really great buffs to their captain abilities to bring them up closer to tactical. That was really great change. It's just that, you know, so many nerfs overall, it does make it a little bit hard to adjust. Yeah, so there it is, guys. That is pretty much most of what there is to Season 13. So let me just finish up here and just go through, you know, just talk a little bit about some of the upcoming content. I did mention it, you know, towards the beginning of the video, which is next video. First thing I want to do is that featured episode. I love the featured episodes. Very much looking forward to this one and seeing how the Lucari storyline continues. So that's first thing. Later, then probably the next video after that will be going through my updated build. And that's when I'll also go through more of the balance changes in detail. And yeah, and then further down the line, maybe taking a look at the actual, you know, the new queues. I want to probably run them a few times, maybe learn a few tricks and tips before I actually go through and make a video on them. So those will be coming, you know, in the days or weeks ahead. Do a video on, you know, each of the new competitive war game queues, the space and the ground. Take a look at those. I have to admit, I'm really apprehensive about those. I don't know, doing coordinated puzzle solving in a pickup group is going to be just, painful. I don't know. I hope it's not as bad as I'm anticipating, but I'm trying to keep an open mind here, guys. I really am. But yeah, guys. All right, so that's Season 13, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Looking forward to those videos coming up. Yeah, so I don't know, overall, what do you guys think? You liking Season 13? You like the focus on the PvP/PvE content that's coming out? Or is it not your style? What do you think of all of the balance changes? I know so it's very controversial. It definitely keeps a lot of conversation going on Reddit and elsewhere. So I think I'm right there with you guys. I'm pretty mixed feelings on this season overall as well. Lots of good changes, but lots of bad changes, lots of nerfs. So it's you know, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to see how it's all going to shake out. I mean, there's so many changes all happening at once. It is hard to kind of get an overall perspective. Was it overall going to be good for the game? Overall going to be bad for the game? It's too early to say right now with this, you know, with the season just coming out. It's going to take a little while for things to shake out and see if this really was a good improvement to the game, or if it's just, you know, they just nerf things and now, you know, you just don't feel as powerful anymore. So yeah, I mean, I got mixed feelings myself, so I'd be curious to see, guys. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you think of Season 13? Do you like the new content? Do you like the balance changes? Do you hate them? I'm curious to see what everyone thinks, and yeah. So there it is, guys, Season 13. Get in, check it out, and yeah, that is what is there. Man, so many changes, lots of things to do. So, all right, guys, but yeah, I do appreciate you watching. Thank you very much, and that is all. Bye for now.